Security. Senator Cassidy said both Joe Biden and the former president have the same plan, which is to do nothing on Social Security and to allow a 24% cut to benefits when the fund goes insolvent in about 8 or 9 years. They both have the same plan of doing nothing. Social Security and Medicare have been at the center of contentious debate across party lines over federal entitlement programs. Even Republicans have pushed for spending cuts, demanding Democrats make commitments about negotiations on a debt ceiling. They've said entitlement programs are not in jeopardy, but Democrats have painted the spending cut calls as threats and positioned themselves as protectors of the program. Funding for Medicare is expected to hit a shortfall in 2028, while Social Security could run out of money in 2032. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid currently make up nearly half of the entire federal budget, with an annual cost of $1 trillion. Senator Cassidy proposed creating a fund which is separate from Social Security, or about $500 billion to be invested into the nation's economy. Plus, Cassidy stated, "And we allow it to sit here, we allow it to grow, and at the end, it helps bridge Social Security's sustainability and all the risk that is borne by the fund." One other option being discussed is raising retirement age. Republicans like Louisiana Senator John Kennedy and even its presidential candidate have recently proposed doing that. Last year, a group of House Republicans called for increasing the retirement age to 70 years old for Social Security and Medicare. That's then indexing it to life expectancy. But it's not only Republicans supporting the change, because many of the Democrats have shown their support for a higher retirement age. Raising the eligibility age is not an insignificant proposal. Research has found that raising this would actually increase and cut monthly Social Security payments for early retirees by about 15%. And people in low-income or blue-collar jobs would see their retirement cut the most. And according to USA Today, the average cost for a gallon of gas, of regular gas that is up 21 cents in just 1 month. The national average price for a gallon of gas was $3.67. On average, the gallon of gas is also widening variably across the country. For instance, in California, it was $4.20. In Mississippi, it's $3.16. Meanwhile, the national average price of diesel has fallen 0.3 cents in the last week and stands at $4.15 a gallon, 87 cents lower than a year ago. But according to analysis at JP Morgan, oil prices are poised to rally soon, as the Federal Reserve is expected to pause its rate hikes. Since the 80s, the final increase in a tightening cycle has been followed by increasing in the price of Brent crude 3 months later, returning an average of 9%. Now, it's the most traded of all the oil benchmarks and is defined as the most drilled in the North Shore fields. The main takeaway is for now that if the Fed pauses its rate hiking campaign soon, the most likely scenario is that oil performs well. Markets expect the Fed to raise the rates one more time, lifting them by another 25 basis points. So this can mean several good things for the American people. In response to inflation, the Federal Reserve has embarked on a series of hikes to its benchmark interest rate, which raises borrowing costs for consumers and businesses alike. That should slow the economy and slash demand, however, eventually bringing down prices for some goods at least. But rate hikes produced mixed results for rent prices. Economists have said that a slower economy and a potential reduction in consumer spending should put downward pressure on demand, causing prices to fall. But rate hikes also lead to a rise in mortgage rates, which keeps prospective home buyers in the rental market as they await a better home buying opportunity, helping sustain demand and limit price declines. Still, folks, the pace of rising rents should come down over the remainder of this year. Economists have told ABC News that it won't bring any outright decline in rents, but it'll bring some relief in a massive price increase. Awesome news, it's finally going to happen. The lawmakers have just confirmed that many low to middle income households are going to be receiving extra stimulus this year. I'm going to be
council here and the county council and Congress. Anyway, North Carolina is a great state. And America, thank you for that introduction. I told America the hardest thing to do, at least for me, when I was her age, was to introduce someone. I think it's, no, I really mean it. Anyway, I won't go into all that. But anyway, folks, I'm Jill Biden's husband. And we brought some friends with us today. Governor Roy Cooper, a terrific partner in creating economic opportunity for the people of North Carolina. Congressman Don Davis. Used to work in tobacco fields, became an officer in the United States Air Force, a minister, a professor with a doctorate, member of the House of Representatives. I don't know what the hell to call him. Doctor, minister, reverend, but he's got it all. He's got it all. And he's got 3 sons with him who are going to take care of him, all these boys sitting next to him. And Mayor Robertson, thank you for the passport into the city. Appreciate it very much. And I want to thank everyone in Rocky Mountain City Council, Nash County, Edgecombe County, and they're here today because we believe in you, all the students here. We're proud of you, and that's not hyperbole. Great things are ahead of you, and there are a lot of training you're going to be getting. But you know, Jill, my wife, has taught in community college now for some years, and she has her doctorate as a professor there. And she has an expression. She says that, you know, community colleges are the best kept secret in America. And then she goes on to say, and she's right, that any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. Any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. And we're in an incredible competition worldwide, economically, politically, and militarily. And you know, this best-kept secret is not being...
It is happening. An economic crisis is on the way. Millions of Americans, including the low-income, Social Security and SNAP beneficiaries, are expected to see their payments delayed. And that's all starting in just a few weeks. Top economists are already warning all Americans to prepare financially for this disaster, which will last them months. The United States is also weeks away from being unable to pay its bills, an event that will likely be accompanied by broad and negative financial consequences for American households, that is. Among the ramifications of a debt ceiling standoff, any payment issued by the federal government, like Social Security, Medicare, tax refunds, military paychecks, and ample others, may be delayed. As an illustration, if the U.S. has just 80 or 90 cents for every dollar it owes, it will be forced to defer to certain payments. There are many unknowns, for example, the length of any delay or if the government will prioritize certain payments. The U.S. has never been in this situation, and the government hasn't issued a public roadmap outlining its response. The U.S. is in this situation due to a political standoff tied to the debt limit. This ceiling is the amount of money the United States is authorized to borrow to pay its bills. The nation runs a budget deficit, meaning it spends more than it makes more. It must therefore borrow money to meet its obligations. Congress periodically raises or temporarily suspends the debt ceiling to avoid the other scenario, which would be a default on the national debt and other federal payments. The country hit a debt ceiling, currently $30 trillion in January. Since then, the U.S. Department of Treasury has been able to shift money around and delay the so-called X date, the day on which the federal government can no longer pay its bills in full. That date may be as soon as June 1st, but a political impasse between Democrats and Republicans means the deal has remained elusive. If the U.S. reaches the X date without a debt ceiling deal, it will be the first time in U.S. history that the federal government has intentionally reneged on the financial promises. This is where the hypotheticals around who gets paid and when starts to come into play. It's likely that the government will pay first investors and financial entities holding U.S. Treasury bonds.